Hello, you guys. Hi, Pretty Souls Gang. This is the Pretty Coach, and this is my first time being on live on this channel. I think this will be my first official live here, and I'm actually very excited about the topic that we're going to talk about. Let me put my glasses on so that just in case anyone comes, I can read your name and I can say hello, just so I can see everything better. Okay. So I'm just going to hop into this topic anyways, whether there's someone here or not, because I don't want it to be too lengthy. And I know that we'll get a chance to replay it. So people who come a little bit later can watch at another time. And I just don't want it to be too long and drawn out because I can be long winded. Okay. Hey, Mary. Hello. I miss you. I know I need to say something, but girl, my mind been everywhere. But hey, boo thing. Okay, so let me hop right into this topic. I was on my Pretty Coach Oracles page and I was doing one of the rising readings. I think no, I was doing another reading. And basically something came out in that reading about manifestation. And I got this thought about how we can manifest our relationships, whether we know it or not. And I was about to go all in telling that story, but I was like, nah, that may take too long. So I said that I was going to save this story for how I manifested really two relationships. I can kind of roll it into one. So, oh, Mary says she misses me too. I feel so loved. But yeah, so I'm going to hop into this. So I'm not going to name names, or I'm going to try my best not to, because that's not the point. Um, the first takeaway from this, the main idea for this story time, I have to get that out the way first because I can get lost in the sauce. One of the things that we have to remember as people who are on our journey to self love and healing is that we are always creating, period, point blank. Know this without doubt. You are always creating your relationships, whether they're friendships, whether they're connections with your family or friends or romantic partners and lovers. Okay. So please know that whether you are creating relationships with people intentionally or unintentionally, excuse me, you are always creating. So be mindful of that. Now, I'm going to talk about two different ways that I feel like I manifested these relationships. Okay. So my first relationship that I remember, and I want to talk about some specific things that I did. So I've always been this person that is a gung ho about love, wanted to be married from a very young age, and probably because I saw my parents married and stuff like that, and I kind of felt like I wanted what they had. But I saw both sides. I saw the ugly parts of marriage and arguments and fights and stuff like that. So I knew that was something that I felt like I didn't want to experience, but I also saw such beautiful times, with with my parents. I felt like they were friends and they were lovers, and there was such intense chemistry between them. It was crazy, okay? And I'm like, ooh, I want that when I grow up. At first, I thought it was nasty, but then I was like, ooh, I hope I could be like that when I'm they age. Moving on, not to tell all they business. I've always known that I wanted to be in a union with someone. However, maybe what I saw wasn't always healthy, and that's kind of where I was coming from. Um, those negative parts of my parents' relationship, I knew that I didn't want those. So I remember being really young, and I created lists. And I would speak to the Most High with prayers and setting intentions, whichever one you want to, whichever phrase you want to use. Prayers and intentions are pretty much the same to me, except for minute differences. And I'm going to tap on them real quick. A lot of times we pray, I don't want to say the wrong way, but a lot of times we pray like begging, or we pray like we're asking God, like, God, could you please give me A, B, and C? When one of the most effective prayers or ways of praying is to thank the Most High, or to thank God for something that we want to manifest, to thank Him for what we want and what we have. And a lot of times I didn't know to do that. So I was already praying or setting intentions from this place of not having that. And what you wind up attracting is more of this, what you don't have. So I'm going to explain. When I got older, I was living abroad at the time. And to me, I'm talking about times where I know now that I actively manifested something. I have been keeping myself, or I have been abstinent for a few years at this point in time. And I want to say it was about 2 years I was abstinent. And I wound up moving abroad to this place, a country called Jordan. And I was living in the city or the capital of Jordan at the time. Beautiful place. I'd recommend anybody go there. It's lovely. But that's not the point. I was on a spiritual journey even when I went out there, and I knew that I wanted to keep myself because I feel like a lot of times we get trapped in sex. We get taught over here that it's your body, you can do whatever you want with your body. And it is true that it's our body, but it is our temple. And on top of that, the more that you engage with people sexually, you take on their nature, you take on their characteristics. And if you're just not careful about who you continue to give your energy to and who you take energies on from, to me, what I've found is that you can be a little cuckoo. And I'm not trying to bash anybody, not trying to talk about anyone. But I just observe that from other people. Like you take on all the energies of others. And sometimes you don't know what's your stuff versus what is whomever's stuff you wound up exchanging sexual energy with. And people will have that for the rest of their lives if they don't cleanse that. And most of us don't know how to cleanse it. So we walk around with people's stuff plus your stuff. So I knew that I didn't want to just be having sex with anybody all willy nilly. So I kept myself. I kept myself from having sex. And I had already tasted of the fruit. I had already had sex before. It was pleasurable, but I just knew it wasn't my nature to sleep with people just because it felt good or just because I wanted to get a nut, okay, or get off. I'm like, I could do that by myself. I don't need nobody else. I don't need nobody else's energy. I don't need nobody to be believing that we're something that we're not. I didn't need to be believing that we were something that we weren't. So I just was like, you know what? I don't think that sleeping around is for me because I tried it. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I had a little whole stroll. I call it a whole stroll. Listen, I'm gonna be real honest with everyone. In every one of my channels, you're gonna get transparency with me. So if you don't like that, this may not be the channel for you. And I make fun of myself sometimes because you have to. We live and we learn, and what doesn't kill us, it definitely, definitely makes us wiser and stronger. So I had my little whole stroll. And I was like, this is not for me because I was getting wrapped up in even the people. Like, I didn't just have sex with somebody that I didn't care nothing about. Even though I know that there are some people who are able to do that, that is literally not how I'm made up. I got to have something that attracts me to you, whether it's your mind, whether it's your kind nature or whatever. There's got to be something there for me to want to have sex with you. So I was already too deep. I was already too invested. So that whole stroll did not last long for me because I was always catching more feelings. And so I knew that that wasn't the best route for me. So I kept myself. When I moved to Jordan, I never knew how long I was going to be there. I just got up and I went on income tax money. And that helped me for a little while, but it didn't last forever. So I wound up getting a job and all this kind of stuff. And the whole time, let me tell you, this is one of the key things when it comes to manifestation. Here we go. Focus. Whatever is, and this focus don't have to be right here in the front of your mind. It could be all the way back here. But whatever you focus on, whether it is a fear or whether Mary's laughing at me. She said income tax money. Anyways, yes, Mary, I ain't gonna lie. I did have a job that I had been working and I was saving up off of my job, but I knew that I was gonna get more because of my income tax. So yeah, girl, that's how I got my plane ticket, baby, my passport. I got everything together. It was the most organized I had been in so long. I also understood that there was something really significant about that as well. Like I've learned that when something is spirit led and when something is destined, I think spirit led is another cute phrase for something that is fated or destiny. So many things align for you. Another thing about, I like to call it practical magic or manifestation. is that when you get clear about what you want to do or where you want to go, guys, let me tell you what you start to do. You start to work to make that happen. You formulate a plan of action. So for me, my plan of action to get from America to Jordan wound up being that I took a job. I was very specific about the job I wanted. I wanted a work from home position. So I manifested a work from home position. Now, how did I do that? I started applying for jobs where I worked from home. Number one. From there, my intent was I'm going to get a job where I work from home, Monday through Friday. I got that in line. After I got that in line, there were days that I didn't want to go into the little job, even though I had to just go in virtually. You know, sometimes when it's a job that you feel like you aren't totally invested in, you don't want to go sometimes. And even if you love your job, you have some days where you don't want to go, right? But when you want to do something, when you are working towards an end goal, that's what usually motivates you. So whatever your focus is what can motivate you to get up and go to work every day, right? So that's exactly what happened. Oh, gas. Because I'm not the one, I really don't care to have a 9 to 5. I'm not about to lie to you guys. Not even gonna lie. But it's just like things were aligning. So I set my intentions to have a work from home position Monday through Friday. I got that job. I worked that job. I was happy to get up every day for the most part and go to that job. And I worked that job for about a year. It was very flexible, so I was appreciative of that. Um, as a matter of fact, I'd be at that job right now if I wasn't living with my sister and there weren't cute little babies running around. I would be at that job now because that's how flexible it is. You can leave, you can come back, you can still get in, if they have positions. Long story short, I got the job, started working, I had to pay my mom a little money here and there, but I saved the majority of the money. Well, no, I saved some of my money. And what I did not save, I put towards things that I knew I was going to need for the trip. For example, I knew that I was leaving the country, and I knew that I needed a passport for that. Right? Hey, Uber. Hi, it's 12:22 on the clock when Uber popped in. Wow, that's a synchronicity number. But anyway, so what I started doing was I started researching what it would take for me to live abroad or to even just travel abroad. So I learned about the passport. How much in the state of Texas? So what I'm saying right now is I'm talking about how when you get clear about what you want right now, how you have to start to research and you search out a plan or you put a plan together, okay? And then you start to work your plan. Okay. And it doesn't always matter which thing comes first. It just kind of depends what you can get to first. For example, I was able to secure the job first, but the next thing I had to do was I had to save a little bit of my money. Once I saved my money, I was able to look into getting a passport. So I got my passport. One of the other things I was led to do was to start downsizing on my belongings. So instead of just giving things away because I did need money, um, somehow these types of ideas started coming to me. And it wasn't even my ideas. I'm talking about I put a question out there. Facebook is amazing, social media is amazing. And I started learning about ways that you could sell your belongings and you could get money for it, not just the typical garage sale. So I found out about these cute places like Plato's Closet and all that kind of stuff where they will take your items depending on what they are and they'll pay you a certain amount of cash money for it. So I'm a handbag lover, a shoe bag. I mean a shoe lover. So I went through a lot of my handbags. That's where I made actually the bulk of my little change. It wasn't a lot, but it definitely helped towards the goal. Okay. So you have to implement a plan and start to work your plan. So that money that I made off of selling a lot of my clothing that I wasn't wearing anymore, and accessories, it helped go towards getting my passport. So long story short, let's go past that. I started working plans to help me get money to go towards the trip and also other things that I was going to need for the trip, like luggage and baggage and things like that. So with certain paychecks, I was putting it towards that. Okay. And also putting it towards purchasing outfits that I could wear more than once, classic pieces and stuff like that. So now let's go off of that. When I get to Jordan, I'm abstinent, haven't been having sex. My focal point is a relationship where me and this person have similar belief systems, and obviously someone else who desires to be in a committed union. And that is what I was focusing on. Even if I wasn't like presently aware, that was in my psyche. Okay. So let me tell you another key thing about manifestation. Anybody that um, did not, let me see, let me take a step back. So, in the manifestation process, when it came to specifically the type of masculine energy that I wanted in my life at that time, because y'all know we change. The more that we grow, the more that we learn about ourselves, that list or the journaling processes that we do, those things change, right? So I have been making lists all my little life since, like I told y'all, I was 10. So my list would always get amended. With each 10 years, my list was being amended about the type of masculine energy I wanted in my life. So this year wasn't anything different with more of the knowledge that I had acquired. So I made another list. Baby, and I carried that list around with me. I placed it in my Bible at the time. As a matter of fact, I'm actually sitting right here beside my Bible. This is the Bible that I had, and this is where I used to carry my list. Listen, girl or guy, whoever, because these are universal principles, so they're going to work for anybody. It doesn't matter. But I had made my list, right? And at the time, I didn't know about making a list from a place of gratitude. I was just listing what I wanted, what I didn't want, and what I did know how to do was to like make believe. So your imagination is a major, major factor in manifestation as well. So, guys, I wrote out my list. I had about 10 things on this list that were really important to me, or I felt they were really important into the type of connection I would want. I talked about myself on this list as well, but I ain't gonna lie, that side of the list was very short and very minute. My side for this person, I had certain things that needed to be hit, right? So I carried that list, I put it away, didn't really look at it anymore. I'm over in Jordan living with some other people who had also left from the States to live in Jordan for spiritual reasons as well. And whenever a man would come into my life over there, didn't matter what nationality they were. First of all, there were certain nationalities for me that were just off limits because of the my beliefs. However, when somebody from who I could actually potentially be interested in would pop up, I didn't just be like, "Ooh, I wonder if this is the one," and just immediately start talking to someone. I actually will refer back to my list a lot. And anything, and also I paid attention to my intuition. And so anything that was off with that person, or anything that did not stand out to me as was on my list, I actually was like, you know, you could be a nice guy. It was great. We could be cool, but no, thank you. I'm not interested. So that leads me to this point of when you're focused on something, anything or anybody, I'll just say any noun, that be person, place, idea, or thing that is not in alignment with what it is that you want to attract into your life, baby, give it no time of day. Don't give it no time of day. Why? Because that is a distraction, first and foremost. And it is a distraction that can easily take you away from what it is that you say that you want. So that's just that with that. So I did not entertain a lot of men, even though at that time in my life, it's like it seems like when you make up your mind about something, you become like a trillion times attractive or some shit to people. It's like there were men of all nationalities who were literally like throwing themselves at me. And I'm over here like, my God, like, no, we don't even understand each other, sir. I can't speak Arabic. You speak Shweya Inglesi, okay? How's this gonna work? Right? So I was like, this ain't gonna cut it. This ain't gonna cut it. So there was a lot of turning away and turning down that I had to do. And let me tell you something. With us who are very empathic people, we are loving people by nature. Sometimes that could be like kind of hard for us to do, to set boundaries and say no to people, especially if you feel like, well, wait a minute, if I'm saying I'm looking for love and all these people are coming and they're showing interest in me, I mean, how nice of that. How nice am I? Or what if I'm being mean, or I don't want to be perceived as a bitch, or whatever the case may be? Listen, people can think whatever they want to about you. That's not even our problem. You have to protect your energy and you have to protect your vision for yourself. You need to protect your dream and what you're wanting to manifest. So if that means having to tell a brother, nah, brother, pump your brakes, or nah, this is not going to happen, then by all means do that. And it doesn't matter what somebody says about you. It doesn't matter how they look at you. And it doesn't matter if they think you're rude, you're a bitch, you're this. Don't matter if they try to tell you that you ain't gonna have what you're looking for. That's on them. That's not you. Okay. So saying no is really, really helpful when it comes to manifestation. And honestly, this is why it's so important for you to be clear about what you want. Because if you're not, then people can come in and they can talk you out of what you want to manifest. So, yeah, just throwing that out there. Please be clear about what you want. Once you get clear about the type of men or masculine energy or woman for that matter that you want in your life, listen, if it's serious enough for you, I don't even have to tell you not to allow other people to deter you from that. Some people may make you feel like what you're waiting on or what you are expecting and hoping for is too high or that it doesn't exist. Listen, it may not exist for you, sir, or it may not exist for you, sis. But for me, I believe it's coming. I believe it's out there. Now, please don't get it twisted. If you sitting here and you're old and gray, okay, and it ain't came into your life. I mean, I think you should have been re-amended some things. You should have been checked your list. But all I'm saying that to say is, guys, I'm being funny, but don't allow somebody else to come into your world and then try to tell you about what you're hoping to manifest. Sometimes it's good not to even say what you're manifesting. It's good to keep it in secret, to go to the Most High in secret. Go to your secret place, wherever that is. That don't got to be no real place. It could just be keeping this within, this between me and the Most High about what I'm manifesting. Don't say anything about it to other people because people will speak on your manifestation. And if you're not careful, they can talk you out of what you have every right to desire and what you have the capability of calling in and creating for yourself just because they weren't able to manifest it. Be careful. So now I want to get, just to keep me on track, I do have my notes. So now I want to talk about some of the things that I did literally months before I manifested the first guy that I was in a relationship with when I was living out in Jordan. So by this time, I had found a job because I needed to get my own apartment in Jordan. I had been living with a friend whom I still respect and love and care for to this day, but we all had kind of had to share a house. And at the time, while I was with her, I did not have a job. So she was carrying a lot of the weight, and it just became really stressful and very hectic for her. So everybody kind of had to split up and go their separate ways. And that was like what in tarot that would have been considered a tower moment, but it was actually amazing. It's what needed to happen. I was such a person to where I had not been on my own before. I always had my mom and my dad and my family. So that was the biggest move in my life up until that point that I'd ever made. Just saying. So that just also, I want to point out real quick that that goes to talking about when something is written in the stars for you, when something is destined, when something is fated for you. It does not matter like what your mindset that you were in before, because let me tell you how spirit prepares you to walk in the way that they're setting up for you to walk. It's like certain things start to happen. I started having very important dreams just before I went on this journey. And now that I know more, I realized I was experiencing DNA activation. I was seeing a whole lot of sacred geometry within my dreams. I was getting messages from relatives. Well, only one relative that was deceased, and that was my father at the time. My dad wound up being a catalyst for a lot of my new level of awakening. So that was really amazing. And I have paid attention to the fact that every time I'm about to manifest something, and I don't know, this may help you guys to pay attention as well, but every time I'm about to manifest something new in my life, I start to have these types of dreams, like back to back to back. And they're always giving me really, really important information that I'm going to need in this next phase of my life. So, yeah, that was something I noticed too. So, I had all these dreams leading up to me literally moving. Um, and I just knew that a shift was taking place in my life. So you need to pay attention to your dreams first and foremost. There's a scripture over in Job, and I cannot remember it, but it talks about the fact that the Most High always gives us warnings about many different things. It doesn't even have to just be bad things, but it is a lot of times that the Most High gives us warnings in visions at night. So that reminds me of a dream. Long story short, here we go. So I had gotten this job after this tower moment. I had to leave this house, and I needed to get my apartment, and I needed to get my own apartment fast. So I was able to get a job quick, and I wound up being able to get an advance because technically I had just started the job, so I hadn't done anything to get my pay. And over in Jordan, the way that they go, it's a month by month payment system. So you get your salary at the end of the month. Okay. Which really made it to where I would have really had to learn how to save and how to budget. I still sucked. It was terrible for me, but it was necessary and I needed that. Okay. So they wound up giving me my first full month's check. And I would have been making, I want to say about I think I was making 400 JDs, Jordanian dinar at the time. I was able to get an apartment that summer. Shortly after I started that job, I started in July at that job. And so I was able to pay for my first apartment in July. By the end of July, it was like July. It may have been the middle of July. I can't remember everything, y'all. This has been like 4 years ago, I think. So I got my apartment, got my job, got an advance. Hold on, y'all. Some on my lip. I don't like that. Yeah. So all of that happened. Boom, boom, boom. I had to move out of the other place that I had been really quickly. Didn't have a job. I got a job just before I had to move out. And then they were able to give me my advance so that I could pay for my apartment and a place to live. So that was a blessing. I had a roommate at the time as well, but she had someone who actually helped her get her money. Okay, so I'm working at this job. I love the job, by the way, loved everything about it. I was really good with children and teaching them and just being really goofy and fun and all this kind of stuff. It's crazy because it's like there's a part of me that doesn't even like kids, but then there's this other part of me that kids just gravitate to me. And I don't know what happens. They love me. And so it worked out in my favor. I was great with them and they loved me. They loved what I did. So I just got paid for being myself, really, because I don't really know what I taught them kids. Moving on. That's neither here nor there. So I've got my job, I've got an apartment. I can even pay for myself to eat, but I was still struggling a little bit. So the way that I manifested this connection, remember, I'm walking around every day with this list in my Bible, and I just know that I want to be in a committed union. I'm abstinent. I'm keeping myself from any other person's energy and stuff like that. And I'm very serious about it. It's just something in me, knowing very serious. Now, I also started to fast and pray. I was led to start to literally stop eating at a certain time every day, or I didn't eat breakfast, would go up until the whole day after I would get off work, and then I would eat. And I knew I was like setting in my mind that I'm doing this for the purpose of ushering in or bringing in my mate. Okay. On top of that, I also would pray, set my intentions. I had a lot of sessions with the Most High with just me and myself in my room. I would have times where I was even crying to the Most High and just talking. But I noticed, here's what I noticed. I noticed that a lot of my prayers, a lot of what I was asking spirit for was in regards to fears that I had. I had been a person who had been sexually abused in my life, raped and molested like numerous times to the point to where I was like, oh my God, is there a sign like right here that says come bother me? Like, uh, why does all this keep happening to me? I had that moment briefly back in my youth. But then I always believed that the Most High allowed all of that to happen for a whole reason. So I didn't have any grudges and anything like that. But it still traumatized me to this point where I felt like I wanted a relationship to kind of protect me from that. And also to somehow validate that somebody would still want me, though I had been through all of that type of stuff at such a young age. So that's a whole nother story time for a whole nother time. But from those traumatic places is where I was also calling forth this relationship. And I didn't really pay attention to that. I knew that that's what I was doing, but I didn't know that that was not the best place to be calling forth a relationship from. I use that and I'm like, I want to be married. I want to have a husband. Lord, you know your girl got needs. You know I'm very, very sexual. And I don't want to be out here just whole strolling and just giving my body to a whole bunch of different people. And I'm telling you, Lord, if it wasn't for me being scared of sex in the first place, you know your daughter would have been a hoe. Like, let me tell you, me and the Lord talk like me and one of my sisters or one of my best friends. You understand me? I kid y'all not. Okay. It ain't no reason to lie to the Lord, because it's source anyway. Now, this was still when I was thinking that the Lord is outside of me. Okay. So I was still always talking to God and I was like, listen, listen, I want to have sex. So that was also a motivation for me to get married, which isn't always to me the healthiest place either. That's not a healthy place to come from. Because and I'm not saying it was the only place, but it's still to me unhealthy. I think that we ought to come from this place of wholeness, of this place of not needing anything, but being grateful. And I'm not even just saying that because it's like cliche as, but I'm literally saying that because it's true. Whenever you're coming from this place of feeling like, of like desperation or feeling like you need to have this thing, you're going to fuck yourself up. I'm assuring you of that. That's how come these relationships fail, or it seems like they fail. They're not failing. They're actually teaching us about ourselves and what we already possess, how much we don't really need the other person like we thought we needed them. It teaches you about all of that. But again, I'm just telling y'all what I was doing leading up to before I met this man. So not only was I fasting and praying, and I also would imagine what a day in our life could be like. Those were brief, didn't have a lot of those in depth as I should have. But I realized now I was meditating. That's meditation. I would also allow myself to have like these feelings of us being wrapped up in each other's arms and or looking eye to eye, and I would really bask in that moment. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, I had a whole man before I had a man. Catch that real quick. Catch it. Y'all may think I'm crazy, but I'm just telling y'all my whole personal truth. I had a man. Like, I carried myself as if I had a man already, for the most part. Now, let me tell y'all, just before I met the man that I wound up being in a relationship with, there was this other guy. There was another guy. So that's leading me to another point. There will always be, I don't even know how to say it. I don't know how many, but there will be multiples. When you are wanting to attract a certain thing in your life, there is going to be something that comes up maybe just before it, or your person could be the person that you need to talk to just before the connection that you get into. And you could miss it, or you could choose thinking that you're making the right decision. I don't know. I felt like I made the right decision. There was this guy who came up in my life literally maybe, I want to say about a month before I met the guy that I wound up really being in a relationship with. I met this other guy. The same friend who I was staying with before, she introduced me. Oh, y'all, something is on. She introduced me to another guy. So she was trying to play matchmaker and stuff like that because she knew I wanted to be with someone and all this. Introduced me to this guy, and y'all, he was fine. Okay, I wish I could show y'all a picture of him, but I don't want to just put this man out there like that. Ooh, ooh, hold on. I feel like I'm about to be experiencing a download very soon. In my left ear, it just went silent, and then I heard a really, really high pitched ringing. Oh, I love when downloads happen. I'm just gonna tell y'all that now. And that may have been very significant. I don't even know. Y'all witnessed it with me. Thank you, Spirit. I think I'm ready for whatever you tell me whenever I get to experience it. So there was this guy that I met just before the guy I got with, and he was fine, y'all. I'm talking about fine. Do you hear me? But he smoked. And so that was one of the things that was like, that is a no go for me. It was a deal breaker for me. I feel like smoking is definitely unhealthy, and even if it's not just unhealthy for the person that does it. If you're going to be in a relationship with this person, then you're going to possibly be around smoke because people want to be at home at home. You know what I'm saying? So everybody doesn't. They start off doing these kind gestures of like, oh, I'll get up and walk out and smoke my cigarette. And I'm not judging anybody, guys. I grew up with a father who smoked, and I just didn't want that for myself and my spouse. I think about my person, how you're killing yourself, and I think about me. Nigga, I ain't asked to die. Okay? I mean, I know we all gotta go some way, but that ain't the way that I wanted to listen. I ain't trying to, I promise. I'm gonna just be quiet because I don't want to offend anybody who smokes. But it's just I didn't want that for myself. So I was like, he smoked. And I was like, no, 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 no. And this, but she still, I was like, all right. And she really convinced me to talk to him. So I gave him a chance. And I hadn't seen him or anything. And then when I did see him, I'm like, whatever. He probably think he all that anyways because he fine and shit. Baby, bye. Your spirit of discernment is important. It's important. Don't not listen to yourself. Even though sometimes your behind can be wrong. Most oftentimes, though, you're not. Now, this guy happened to like me back. Like when we first met each other, we did meet up. We actually met. How did we meet? We met up at a Burger King out there. We met up at a Burger King out there. And there was instant chemistry. No lie, instant chemistry. And I'm such a friendly person. I feel like I would probably be able to get along, at least on the surface, with just about anybody. Okay. And then on top of that, your girl with her chocolatiness, she's naturally somewhat beautiful, right? Like in a cute, quirky kind of way. And then I am myself. So that's always radiant. It comes from the inside out. And so he was attracted to me and he let me know. And I could kind of tell he played it real cool though, but he liked me. And I could feel it intuitively, but he didn't say any of that type of stuff. So technically, I never knew whether or not he liked me until he finally said something. But when he said something, y'all, it was too late. Long story short, I had then already met this other guy who was more along the lines of what I thought. Y'all, let me tell y'all what I asked for. I'm going to give y'all some of the things I asked for. Some of them. I'm gonna tell y'all some things I asked for. So some was shallow, but I realized that I was somewhat shallow, and I had to stop running from the fact that I was somewhat shallow. So I was like, okay, I do like pretty teeth, Lord. I love pretty teeth. I like a pretty smile. So with that being said, I would like for my man to have a pretty smile. Okay, because I'm not only thinking about right now, I'm thinking about the future. Okay, I'm thinking about the future. Okay, and I wanted it to be a situation where I envisioned us literally in pictures together. I didn't know what this person gonna look like, and I didn't have an actual face in my brain, but still, it's just like I envisioned a house where there's like mantles and pictures, and I saw me and my husband in them pictures, and we had pretty teeth. That's all I can remember. So yes, pretty smile. So that was one thing I did, envisioning us with our pictures and all that kind of stuff. And What else did I do? I specifically prayed and asked for something that I thought was unattainable. I didn't know, y'all. Listen, before before I had sex on purpose, I had never had sex. I did not have sex until I was 25 years old. So yeah, I wasn't a virgin, you know what I mean, in every sense of the word, technically speaking. But to me, I was because I chose not to give myself sexually to anyone, even though I had been molested and stuff before. So some people might be like, technically, you ain't a virgin because I had been raped. But to me, I still was one because I didn't give up myself to nobody, you know? So I didn't have sex with anyone until I was 25. So, but then I'm sorry, until I was 24. It was the summer I was about to be 25. And then anyway, that's a whole nother story. Moving on. Did give it up, but then I stopped like shortly after because I'm like, that's not me. I want to be with someone. So I was kind of inexperienced when it comes to sex. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. I was inexperienced. And so what wound up happening was I prayed that my husband, and the way that I know my husband is my husband, I prayed that the man could make me orgasm 5 times at once. And I don't mean like at once, but I mean like in one session. I kid y'all not. I'm just speaking my truth, people. Listen, this is about how we manifest relationships, okay? This is how I manifested two of mine. I need to hurry up because I haven't even made it to my second one. Long story short, when I wound up meeting this other dude who wound up being the person I was in a relationship with, I did not know right away that it was going to be him, but I did ask for some stuff that I felt made sense. Like I asked for my person to have a loving relationship with his mother. And I don't know how, but somehow I suspected that this person wasn't going to have their father in their life, even though I wish maybe that they would have. I knew that my person wouldn't have their dad in their life. And so I asked and hoped and prayed that their relationship with their mom would be one that was of respect and honor, because I felt if you respect your mama and you love your mama, you will be kind and respectful and love me. That's what I thought. Well, what I got was a mama's boy, which is, oh, that's terrible. I wouldn't recommend it. Moving on. So yeah. So when we wound up getting together, it was very weird. I had to move out of my apartment that I had been sharing with another person abruptly. Wasn't able to make rent for the last time, and they just wasn't having it. So I basically got put out and I needed a place to stay. And the people that I had just moved from, they were moving on their own and they couldn't help me out again, which I understand. So wound up being that this new little family, which was a mom and her son, had moved over next door. Now, I had made it my business to not even go over there because we had met them once, and the mom, I just kind of just saw she had just rubbed me the wrong way, but I was really cordial and respectful to her, but she had rubbed me the wrong way. She was very catty, in my opinion, to me, and I didn't have no beef with her, so it wasn't no point for me to jump back fly with her. I just held my space, held my composure, and was kind, period. I already knew that I had been talked about before I got met. So I felt like that's kind of why she had that energy towards me, because of things that other people said about me. Long story short, her son, quiet to himself, very observant. I observed him observing everyone else. She wound up talking to him in a certain way that seemed very degrading, very demeaning, and I did not like that. I was like, what the fuck is she doing in front of, like, why is she talking to him like that and in front of us? It was bad. I actually felt the need to defend him, but I was like, shit, I ain't about to do that. That ain't my business. That's his mama. They must have an understanding. It was so funny. This is a conversation that I'm having in my head when I first met them. After meeting them, I was like, I'm never going over there to their house, because she had kind of mentioned somebody who had popped up at their house before without being announced, and how she just let the person knock and she never answered the door, but they were there the whole time. I'm like, that is not, I was like, oh no, that's rude. So, and I wouldn't even say it's rude. It's just there was something that turned me off towards them, and I was like, I'm never going over there. I don't care if we need something in this house. I'm never going over there to bother them, because I'm not always gonna be able to call you. Oh, I come. What if you don't answer the phone? Long story short, We needed toilet paper one day, and my roommate decided that she was going to go over there. I did not want to go over there. First of all, I got the vibe that the lady felt like she was having to protect her son from the girls such as myself because she feels like people going to be trying to take her child from her. I'm like, lady, I only want what the Lord have for me. So ain't nobody stunting your son, okay? I'm good over here, which I was, even though I was praying. I just think I believed what I asked the Most High for. I believed that it was going to happen. I didn't know how, but I believed it was going to happen. So that's the other thing. When you're manifesting, when you get clear about what you want, when you write your things down, whether it is in a journal or if you make a list, one thing I will say, don't make a list out of lack or desperation. Make your list from a place of gratitude, from a place of thank you that this is what I have. Thank you that this happened, yada, yada, yada. Okay. That's what I will say. I made a list more so out of what I wanted and things from my past experiences that I did not like. And I mean, that's wise, but you could still reword it in a certain way. I still was coming from a place of lack. So get clear about what you want, journal or write your list, be grateful, be thankful, and believe that what you're asking for is going to happen. Period. No doubts. There is literally no room for it. Literally. Period. If you're trying to manifest something and if you have a mind to doubt yourself, then you should throw your manifestation out because it ain't gonna happen. What's gonna happen is what you are doubting. That like what you don't want to happen, which is where that doubt is coming from. That's what you're gonna get. So I'm just saying, be careful. So yeah, I journaled, I prayed, I cried, I fasted, I was abstinent. Period. I lived to me as if, and I also started doing certain things too, like I was already married. That's that with that. So what happened was the girl went over there to get toilet tissue. I did not go with her. I stayed my black behind, sitting down, watching television, watching the news, and that was that. The first time I ever went to their house was the day that the couple that I had stayed with before, who had now become my neighbors, had to move out. Because at this point, it was getting down to the wire and I needed to be out of my apartment and I didn't have nowhere to go, y'all. So they were like, why don't you go over there and ask them if you can use their Wi-Fi, because I didn't have Wi-Fi anymore and all that kind of stuff. So I needed to go use the Wi-Fi. And that is what literally to go and have to knock on those people's doors. I did try to call before I went over there, but nobody answered their phone. So with that being said, I had to go knock on the door. I was already sad, already fighting myself, already like, God damn it, they probably not gonna even answer this door. And I said I didn't want to do this and all this kind of stuff. But guess what? Somebody answered the door. They were like, but they answered like just by asking who it was. I let them know that it was me. He opens the door. Well, before he opened it, I heard him let his mom know who it was, and then she must have told him to open it because he opened the door. And he let me in. And that's how I met them again for the first time in forever. And we sat down and we had this long ass conversation about what was going on. And I asked him if I could use it. First, I asked him if I could use the Wi-Fi. Later, we talked later. And I mean, we talked so much so to where they were like, hey, the mom was like, hey, just come and move in with us. Like, you can come and stay with us for a time, whatever. We need to stick together. We're out here from the States, whatever. So that was how we initially met each other. And I remember it was like the 31st of July. I kid you not, because August was coming right around the corner, baby. And my birthday is in August. Okay. I'm August 5th. Understand? So it was like July 31st when I wound up having to go move. And the girl that I was staying with, we were kind of not on the best of terms. And so I literally kind of had to sneak out. And they didn't want the girl to know that I was coming to stay with them. Um, I don't know what happened between them, but they just didn't want it to be known. And so I had to be quiet. His mom sent him to help me move my things, and I moved into their house literally on July 31st. By August 1st, I was there, staying there temporarily. I did find someone because I was still working. So I was always actively looking for another space, but they just said, hey, you can come bring all your things here since you have to be out. And that's what happened. I did wind up finding another place to go to. I was going to have to go and check that out later. But I had a place to live by by the end of July. So that was a blessing, yes. But when I got over there, y'all, there was this knowing, like, oh my God, like, what if this? It wasn't a straight out, super clear knowing, but I definitely had this inclination that, oh my God, what if it's him? Rolls eyes. And by August 1st, I wound up starting my cycle and I was in so much pain. And he just noticed. That was another thing that I had prayed about, y'all. This is another thing. I need to say this. When I was saying my prayers, I was just like speaking things out into the atmosphere. Now, this is what I'll say. That can be good or bad because in my mind, there are entities and powers that are here to assist us in manifesting with what we want. But then there are also entities and powers that are here to provide opposition to that to me, or to make it appear like you're getting what you asked for, but instead it's just like another life lesson, or not that that's always bad, but it's not actually what it cracked up to be. So because me and this man are not together now, I just kind of feel like maybe it was just like a lesson that I was supposed to learn and stuff like that, and not my actual divine union as far as forever thing. But this was a manifestation. I had said out loud that I wanted this person to be attentive to me to where like I didn't have to say anything, like he was watching me to the point to where he could know when something was wrong with me. So I'm laying on the sofa chilling, and since we started off as far as like talking and we all had these great ass conversations together, um, it was kind of like that was like the dynamic between all three of us. But that later took a turn for the worse. But moving on, I was on the sofa and I wasn't feeling my best and I'm cramping really bad. And I'm like trying my best to just be a part of the conversation, but I'm laying down because I don't feel my best. So I remember him like just getting up and asking me if I wanted some tea. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I would love some tea. And he was telling me that he was going to do all this other stuff. I'm going to give you some ginseng because ginseng is great for menstrual cramps. And that was another thing that I had prayed for. I was like, Lord, I want this person to be intelligent and knowledgeable and spiritual and artistic. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, I said so many different things, like my brother, but not. It was crazy. So I'm like, I want this person to know all these things and know more than me because I mean, it could be helpful to me. Either I want to be able to learn more from this person, or I want us to like match each other's knowledge. And he was telling me all about ginseng and how it's important for menstrual cramps and it helps. So I was like, okay, cool. Thank you. That's what I would like. Thank you. I appreciate that. Y'all, that was when I started to notice, like, I don't think you just tripping, Jude. You know what I'm saying? Like it just started to make me pay more attention. And I even questioned myself because I'm like, you're probably just making this up because you are the one who knows what you prayed for. He's just being himself, or he's just doing whatever the fuck he's doing. Okay. You could be putting more onto this, Jude, than what it really is. So I really chilled, even though I was getting these things like he could be the person, or he could be your person that you have prayed for. So I just kind of put it to the back of my mind and I just shook it off. And I was like, no, he's really kind because he's a mama's boy. So to me, like your mom, you've had to cater to your mom. So of course you would pick up on stuff like that. And of course you have this knowledge about ginseng and all this shit. You probably had to learn that from your mama. So I just wrote it off. But there was something like all the way back here where I thought about that. Okay. So with that being said, shortly after we started, we would talk all the time. We'd have to go run errands for his mom sometimes. And of course, with me staying there, even though it was just, I'm staying there temporarily, it was like time. Ooh, guys, give me one moment. This is the truck driver calling me with my car. Hold, please. Hi, Rod.
How are you today?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm okay.
How are
I'm
you?
all right.
Something is happening. What's going on, Rod?
Oh, well, yeah, they don't want to pay me, but I will be there between 4 and 6 o'clock to deliver your car this afternoon.
Right. I want to cry. And not because of the car. I want to cry because they're
Yeah,
doing you like that.
yeah, you're going to have wheels, but It doesn't seem like they're going to pay me. They don't want to pay me. So
right.
I guess I'll take that up with them later on.
Oh my God. And I'm so sad that I could not pay direct to you, because this just wouldn't be happening if I was able to pay it, just get the cash and pay you in cash. Like, you wouldn't even have to worry about that.
Well,
damn.
That's the nature of this business. Sometimes, you gotta get nasty with people. So, I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do with them. I've tried to reason with them and talk to them, but they won't even, they won't answer my phone calls. They won't call me. I've had Amy text them. Now they'll holler at Amy, they'll text her and tell her all kinds of lies. Like they said that I said I wouldn't deliver it till Sunday. Well, you and I talked yesterday, and I told you it either be this evening or tomorrow morning. So, I talked to them yesterday and told them it would be this evening or tomorrow morning. Now they're on the phone telling Amy that, well, I said I wouldn't deliver it till Sunday. Well, that's neither here nor there. I'm here to deliver it. They need to pay me,
Yeah.
So, they got all kinds of problems going on over there.
Man,
so,
right.
Anyway,
They're not going to be in. They are not going to be in business. No, I just was going to say they're not going to be in business long, because this is just this is not right to me, and it's unfair. Like, if I'm the reason why they can't, why you can't get paid, technically this is supposed to be on me, not you. You did everything that you said to me.
Technically it should be on them, because their deal with you has nothing to do with me.
Right.
If they ship a car for you and they haven't been paid and you don't pay them, then that's their problem.
Right, and that's beef with me.
Right. They should have been paid before they dispatch the car. Now, they dispatched the car to me to haul it for $650 from point A to point B. That's what I've done. There was no dispatch saying, well, if she pays me, we'll pay you, because I would have never loaded the car.
Right. Right.
So they, they're really all over themselves here, but if it'll all work out, it'll just take me time to collect my money. That's all it is. That's all it'll be. It's just going to take me a few more days to collect my money, and they're going to get a negative rating, and they're not going to like it. There's some other things I can do that I'm going to do. I've already told Miss Amy what steps to take.
Yes.
She's very, very sharp in this game. So
okay.
She's well aware of them, and we will take it from here. But
I'm so sorry, Mr. Rod. I just.
Have they tried to contact you today at all?
They haven't tried to contact me today, but they did contact me yesterday, and they were, of course, demanding that I send them. I think they were asking me for $100. They said I still owe them $100. So, actually, I think that changed. I told them I'm giving you the $100. So they said that I only need to give them $50. So they told me that I have to give them $50 by Saturday. And they were actually telling me that I wasn't going to get the car until I made that $50 payment. So maybe this is where they're getting, but see, they're lying on both ends. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like sorry guys, they're telling me one thing, and then they're going back and telling you something, as if like to try to make up. You know what I'm saying? To make up for everything.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to make me hold up until you pay. Well, I can't do that. I can sit here with my car on your trailer, your car on my trailer, because I've got other cars to load tomorrow.
Right.
I'll get this trailer unloaded.
Yes, sir. So, I told them that I'm going to. No, you go ahead, Mr. Rod.
I have to put it in storage. That's what I told them. Amy told them.
Yeah.
If you don't get paid by this evening, by delivery time, we'll have to put the car in storage. But see, that doesn't hurt them. That hurts you, because you're going to have to pay $40 or $50 a day storage on the car until you go get it.
And I already can't even afford that.
Right. They're not going to tell you where it's at until you pay the storage, until you pay them. So it's all a big vicious circle,
Yeah.
It's just a bad broker. Broker made a mistake, and he wants everybody else to bail him out. And I'm not one to do that. I'm not going to do it. So anyway.
But
from now on, if they contact you this afternoon or nothing or anything, don't discuss the money that you're going to give me.
Yes, sir, I won't.
Okay, won't even bring that up.
Okay.
You owe them $100, and you discuss that, and you tell them that the other money's the $150. You tell them that you don't have it.
Yeah.
And say, I'll try to work that out with the driver when he gets here or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
you tell them anything you want to tell them because that's none of their business. What
True.
their business is they owe $650 before you can have your car. That's what they need to think.
Okay.
And that's the end of it.
Yeah. The last thing we discussed is that I owe them $50. So, and I have to have it to them by Saturday. I don't know how I'm gonna get it. I definitely have been working on that. I'm self-employed right now, so I make my money reading tarot cards and stuff like that. And so that's what I was gonna, plan on doing and getting my money up that way. So I just don't know, but I'm definitely not trying to have you not get your doggone money just because I can't pay the $50. That just I'm just.
We bill them the way that PayPal works is, you bill them and it takes them a matter of seconds. They see the bill, they click a few numbers, bang, PayPal's paid. You know how it works.
I do. I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right, we've addressed them, for the payment, and they won't pay me. So I mean, it's been 3 hours now, I guess, or maybe 4 now. I don't know. It's been a while now that we've kind of been waiting on it, and they haven't done it. So I just told Amy, at 4 o'clock their time, they're going to get a negative rating. So that gives them all day to pay me. If they don't pay me, they get a negative rating, and then that'll come through to them immediately, and that should get their attention. If that doesn't get their attention, I've got another plan. So, I'll get their attention before it's all said and done, because I have done nothing wrong.
You sure have not. And to me, I mean, I'm the one who technically did something wrong here as far as with having to reschedule and things like that. That's on me. And I just don't feel like I know that this is unfair. That's all I can say. It's just unfair for you to have to even, that's just not even right though, because they have the $650. Because that's the one thing that for sure is sitting over there with them, is $650 from me.
Yeah, they're just wanting to keep it all, and that's the way some of these brokers are. That's the way they operate. It's just, like I said, that's part of this game. I've played it before, and as of today, I have never lost a penny. Okay, today may be my first day. I may lose $650. If I do, it's not going to make me, and it's not going to break me.
Oh,
it's something I don't want to do.
I don't want you to do it. I don't want that for you either.
I don't get it. I'm not going to lose no sleep over it. They will, but I won't,
I won't really be happy about it either, though, Rod. I can't even lie to you. Like, I mean, yes, I'll be happy to have my belongings in my car, but I will not be okay with that. Anyhow, I don't really know what to do other than I've told them I'm working. I'm literally actively working on getting the $50. So I don't know what else to say to them.
Well, that's all you can do. You just tell them you're trying your best, and that's all you can do. You can't get blood out of a tournament. So
okay,
you're trying your best to do it, and that's the end of it. That's all you can do.
All right. Well, let me get back to this reading, and let me see if I can get some more reading so I can hurry up and get this paid so they can make sure that they give you your money. I don't know what the freak is going to happen. I'm almost confused. I'm like, do I owe the 100 or do I owe the 50? Like, they confused me when they shared the numbers, but they told me I needed to give them $50 by Saturday. So to me, my main focus at this point is now this $50. So that's what I'm working on getting so that apparently they can release the money to you.
No, I would think it would be 100, but hey, that's between you and them.
It probably is 100, but the one thing I can work on right now is that 50. Like, I don't know what to tell them. I just don't know. But I know I got your 150 today. So that's what you'll be getting. That's not their business. The only business is that I owe them 100. So, goddamn. I'm gonna be quiet now.
You just do what you can do, and that's all you can do. There ain't no sense in losing a bunch of sleep over it. Like, get yourself all worked up. You do your best, and normally things will work out. That's all you can do.
Yes, sir. True.
I mean, you can't get blood out of a turnip. You get the turnip sometimes, but you can't get blood out of a turnip. So, turnip, I'm coming to get you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Rod. Well, I'll see you whenever you get here.
Now, I should be there between 4 and 6. If I'm going to be later, then I'll give you a call. Now, have you found me a place to unload this thing?
Yes, sir. It's the remember it's the oh let me I'll can I text this number, Mr. Rod?
You can.
Okay, so I could text you the name of the little beauty supply store that's right at the corner of the street. It's called Royal Beauty Supply. You cannot miss it. It's like the only business establishment right at the corner. And it's a white building and it's a nice little parking lot. And there's even a way to get out depending on which way you're going. So that's where
Okay.
that's where I'll be meeting you. So we can make sure
Okay. Now,
you don't have to worry
make sure
about it.
that's a fair size. Yeah, make sure that's a fair size parking lot because I've got a big truck now.
Oh, well, if you got a huge truck, I'm scared. I don't know for sure then.
Yeah, I've got a big truck. My truck's 80 foot long.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I've got a full blown semi. Yeah,
Oh, a semi. Well, we're gonna probably have to. Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. I think even if you
Well,
pulled,
let's do it. Yeah, let's do it this way. Let me get to there, and if I can't get in that lot, I'll find something.
and then
Side
you'll let me
street,
know.
something else.
Okay.
They're real close by, and I'll let you know.
Okay, that'll work then, Mr. Rod.
Okay, well, go ahead and send me that address so I know where to start looking. You understand?
Yes, sir. I'm sending you the home address. I don't know the address to the beauty supply store, but I can send you the name of that, and maybe.
I should have your home address. Let me look here and see what I've got here for your home address. I've got you down at.
Hold on, Mr. Rod. Give me a moment. Let me You guys, I am so, so sorry. And thank you for my booze who are still here. I apologize. So, for those of you who caught a hold of that, I am getting my car shipped from Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where I moved from recently, back here with my mom and my sister. And so that was the person who is delivering my car to me. It's a whole nother story. It's not what you came here for. I apologize for being on here for life. Let me hop into the other. Okay, before I go, I manifested the other relationship after a couple of weeks of me being there because I wound up being there longer than what I had expected and anticipated. They wound up being like, I had moved into a place, found one, moved in, stayed there for all of 2 nights because by this time I found them and they had become like my surrogate family out there. And I was over there all the time to the point where I would only come back to my apartment that I was paying, that I had already paid rent for, and only being there, for a little while. So the lady that I was renting from wound up getting upset with me, and she was like, "If you're gonna leave, you just need to leave." So I wound up actually getting put out of my apartment because the next month was coming up, and you do have to pay by month with this lady. Anyway, wound up getting put out before I even really stayed there for like a full month. So they already loved me being over at their house. I was there all the time. We enjoyed each other's company. So they were like, girl, just the mom was like, get your stuff and just come on back home. Cause I can already see that ain't about to last long. I was like, well, no, I'm gonna hold on to my spot until like I just have to. So it turned out that just like the mama said, it wasn't about to last. So I wound up actually having to move right back in there with them. And it was once I moved back in there with them, not knowing how long that was going to be, me and him wound up like getting together. Like we talked at first. Back to the guy, remember I told y'all there was a guy that I had met just before this guy. That guy and I were still friends. We were actually still hanging out with each other, even while I was living there with them. Because again, I'm just living with y'all. There's nothing at this time that was going on that I'm about to tell you guys about. There was nothing going on between me and that lady's son at the time. So we were cool, me, her, and him. And then this guy that I'd already gotten cool with too, we were hanging out. But he had already mentioned that he didn't want really anything serious like what I was looking for. So yeah, I'm thinking he ain't want nothing serious, but he kept making time for me and I enjoyed spending time with him as well. So we would go and spend time. And even while I was living there, the guy came by to visit. And the guy that I was now living with, he saw him, met him, hadn't been his first time, but well, no, something happened. They hadn't met yet, but he had heard about him. They had not met yet. Um, I wound up telling the guy that I was staying with that I was talking to this guy. And he wound up telling me, oh yeah, well, you should talk to him and yada yada yada. And I was like, beginning to have feelings for him now, being that I lived in the same space. I realized it could have been just the fact that we were living together and by default spending a lot of time. And so, yeah, when this guy asked me out, I was like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with this guy on such and such and such a day because with me living here with you guys now, we get to spend like a lot of time together. You get to see me all the time. He, on the other hand, doesn't get to see me and we're all cool, or I want to be cool with both of y'all. Moving on, long story short, I kind of got the vibe that I'm empathic, so I felt that that kind of had made him go down a little bit, like his energy changed right then and there. And I think I literally felt him feel a little possessive over me, but not like crazy possessive. He didn't even say anything, but he was like, oh, yeah, yeah, cool. No, no, not a problem. So I was like, yeah, okay, then cool. I go hang out with the other guy, and that was that. Then the other guy that I'm staying with started to question and compare himself to this dude. Like, how do I line up to him? Like, what do you like about him? And do I have some of those same qualities? And that made me feel like maybe he liked me more than what I initially thought. And after that, I'm like, I enjoy spending time with you. I'm already here with you. I'm by you. You already by me. Me and your mom at this time, for the most part, get along. Maybe I can learn stuff from her. you're creative and you're artistic and you remind me so much of what I asked for on my little list. I think I would much rather try to work it out with you or to be something with you. So, anyways, long story short, I wound up telling him how I felt about him being all bold and shit. What the freak? I don't even know where that came from. I kind of do, but I probably should have just chilled. But long story short, I eventually wound up kissing him, and the rest is history. So, me and him started talking that way. And we were inseparable after that. I don't mean to tell all my business, but let's just say for those who were here at the earlier part of this connection, I asked for something that I felt was unattainable. And with this person, I experienced that so called unattainable thing. So this is what made me feel like, oh, this is the person that I prayed for. Now, moving on, I will end this story time here because I've been here for an hour, guys. Clearly, your girl can talk too much. I'll come back and I'll talk about the other relationship that I manifested on another time. Okay. Thank you for those who stayed with me up until this point. For those who just heard the conversation or part of the conversation about my car, send positive energy my way. I'm also already working on that as well, and all that great stuff. I hope that I can make sure that this man gets his money because he did everything that he said he was going to do and all that good stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all who are here. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe. Yeah, and if you just like the story time, you can tell me about what you want to hear from me, or maybe any type of ideas that you may have about that you may want me to talk about or research or touch on and bring to you guys. Let me know in the comments, okay? I love you guys with the love of the Most High. Peace, love, light, and darkness working in unison and harmony together. Bye, y'all. Bye.